So it's been a minute. I won't deny it. It's been almost over a year since I've published a video onto this channel. It's not that I haven't thought about it. I didn't want to quit. It's just been a busy year. In any event, I wanted to catch you up on a couple things. In this last year, I was given the coolest opportunity to create the maps for the trailheads at one of the local trails. Now, I'm not talking the little maps that go on the Facebook page or flyers. No, I got to do the big maps posted at the trailheads for the Claremore Lake mountain bike trails. So first of all, let me introduce you to Rory.
Hey everybody, I'm Rory Peterson.
Rory is the trail boss of the trail systems out at Claremore. Rory is a friend and a great guy.
I'm kind of the head wrangler out here at Claremore and lead the volunteers and having a great time building our own playground. And so we've got great cooperation with riders and volunteers from all over the region, which is why this thing is what it is.
He wasn't appointed trail boss or hired to do it. No, this guy earned it. He earned it by seeing the potential of the area and spending years out there cutting, weed eating, and digging. He will be the first to tell you that he's had a lot of help, but he's also done a lot of that work on his own. And there is no one more passionate and dedicated to those trails than Rory is. I run the risk of sounding like I'm bragging here, but I didn't take any money to do these maps. I didn't want to get paid for them, even if it was an option. It's not like they have a huge budget. You see, there have been plenty of trail days out there where volunteers from all over come out to show some love to those trails. I've been to a few, but not as many as I've wanted to, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to put in my volunteer work. But this got me thinking, maybe we should talk about this, because it might be completely obvious to some, but to others it may have never even crossed their mind. And that is, there are plenty of ways that you can give back to your trail systems that aren't just digging in the dirt. Some places have maintenance crews or big budgets for repairs, or some infrastructure or organization to manage and maintain the trails. But I would bet the majority of the trails, especially in states that aren't known for mountain biking, which is like 47 of them, there's plenty of opportunity for volunteering. And I think the trail labor is probably like 95% of the need for volunteering, but there's other little ways that we can do it too. Maybe you don't have the time, or maybe you don't have the back, or maybe you just don't want to, whatever. So let's talk about a few of the other ways that you can volunteer for your local trails. Now, hard work and sweat is one thing, but money is a whole other aspect that can really improve the trails. Some projects are major undertakings, but some just maybe need a couple $100 in lumber. If you trust your local trail boss and have a good way for accounting where the money's going, writing a check can be a huge way to make things happen on the trail. Now, one thing that I will say if you're going to give cash is that if you don't know the managing body of your trail system, do your due diligence. Make sure that the people that you're giving your money to actually have permission and jurisdiction to do the work on the trails. That would suck to fork over $500 in cash for a new feature only to have it ripped out in the next week because it was unauthorized. Now, if you don't want to lay out cash, which is totally understandable because you don't know where it's going or that's just not your style, there's plenty of opportunities where you can purchase the material yourself and then donate it. It takes good wood to build good features, and if you can provide a bundle of rough cedar, that's huge. Now, at the same time, if you're going to donate material, talk to the trail boss and find out exactly what they're going to need. And of course, don't buy a bunch of 2x6s when they've asked for 2x10s just because they're cheaper. If you're going to give properly. But then again, this all depends on your relationship with the people managing the trails. If they ask you to donate a truck full of lumber, ask why. What are they building? How much lumber are they going to use? Say they only have one project plan, but they're hoping that you'll donate enough lumber that they can use some in the future. So they use a few boards while the rest of your donation is sitting out in the weather only to be pilfered or stolen. If you're donating material, you have every right to ask to see a plan, even if it's on the back of a napkin. So there's actually working, then there's money, then there's donations, but another way to volunteer that is really, really appreciated is food. Take my friend Paul. He's got a side hustle as a barbecuer, a barbecuist, a barbecuarian. Anyway, whatever he is, he makes great food. And when trail day comes around, he's there to feed the crew lunch. So whether you cook like a maniac, want to spring for pizza and beer, or bring stuff for sandwiches, taking that burden out of the hands of the crew will be gratefully welcomed and will actually attract more labor volunteers to get more work done. So some things are big and tangible like the ones that I've mentioned, but there are other ways to give back to the trails that are smaller but meaningful as well. If you like your trails and you want more recognition for them, photograph them and tag them on Instagram. If there's already popular hashtags, use them. If there's not, create your own and use them consistently. Every time you ride, snap a picture of your friends or your bike and tag it on Instagram. The goal is to get people to notice, and if people notice, then maybe the city or whoever might notice that people are noticing, and funding might flow that way. And also, it might seem like the least you can do, but just tell people about the trails. Tell people that you ride there, that you hike there. Not just other people that ride, but everybody. If you drove to another city to ride the local trails there, and you stop somewhere afterwards to eat and grab a beer, tell the waiter why you're there. If they hear it just from you, they might say, nah, nice. But if you're the 7th group that weekend that's come in and said that they were there to ride trails, they'll start to notice, and the restaurant will start to notice, and they might start catering to the mountain bikers, and then city councilor will notice and say, hey, this is bringing people to the city. Maybe we should pay attention to this. I know this sounds like a hypothetical scenario, but this has literally happened. And finally, if you're in the creative industry, like a photographer or a graphic designer or a web designer, maybe the trails could use a website or some promotional material, or even a decent logo for their Facebook page or Instagram account. But another disclaimer here, if you're new to these fields and you haven't been told this yet, don't ever do your work for exposure. The exposure is never worth the work that you put into it. Instead, know what you do has value and donate that valuable work. Anyway, so again, these are things that might seem obvious to some, but to others, it might be the first time you've ever heard about it, or it might be the first time you ever thought about it. Anyway, my name's Cody and you're watching Lunch Ride. If you liked the video, if you thought it was helpful, if you have some tips on how to volunteer of your own, leave them in the comments down below and help us all out. Until next time.